Welcome to the Independent Artist Podcast, sponsored by the National Association of Independent Artists.
Also sponsored by Zapplication. I'm Will Armstrong, and I'm a mixed media artist.
I'm Douglas Sigworth, glassblower. Join our conversations with professional working artists. All right, everyone. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Hope you all are enjoying the holidays. Now, it's our last episode of the year, and I think Will is still at the Armadillo, or maybe he's behind the wheel headed off to somewhere. But nonetheless, he'll be back soon to catch us all up on what he's been up to. As for me, I've just been enjoying this break from the road, and I had a chance last week to speak with Marina Terauds right before Christmas. So it was a good chance to catch up with her because she's been recovering from a shoulder surgery that she had from a fall that she experienced earlier in the season at one of her teardowns. Marina is a printmaker, and she grew up in Latvia and immigrated to the U.S. about 20 years ago. Her parents recognized in her creative talents as a youngster, and they enrolled her into an arts academy. After she completed her schooling, she worked in animation, which was her favorite job. She met her husband Uldis, a U.S. citizen with family ties in Latvia, and that is what brought her to the U.S. So, in this conversation, she talks all about immigrating to the U.S. without speaking English and how she found herself ultimately selling her artwork on the streets under a tent, just like the rest of us. So thanks for tuning into our conversation this week, and here she is, Marina Terauds. Well, Marina, hello. Thank you for being on the show today. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Really look forward to getting to know you better through the course of our conversation.
Okay.
First of all, I wanted to ask how things are going with you, because I know you're recovering from an injury out on the road.
It's like almost 3 weeks
Okay.
from my surgery, shoulder replacement, and I am going pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everything is good.
I'm a little familiar with shoulder issues because my doctors are letting me know that I've got some rotator cuff issues, and they talked to me about down the road, if I just ignore it, about the options of shoulder replacement. So that's actually what you're experiencing, is the shoulder replacement?
Yeah, it's reverse, very weird looking thing.
Yeah.
When they put this joint like backward, and then the delta, I believe the name of the
The deltoid muscle.
will move it. So I hope that it will work well.
Okay.
I know some people, they had it and they say that it's better than it was before.
Really? I know.
Yeah.
Do they give you a lifting restriction for life after you've had that surgery? Do they talk about that?
Not yet, because I didn't have a physical therapy yet. I will start in January. But yeah, I heard from another people that they cannot reach the top of the head. They cannot put hand behind them. But other people, they say they had quite opposite experience. So
Okay.
I believe it's very personal.
Okay.
So
All right. And how long of a recovery period are they expecting for you?
they say 6 months.
That's
Also,
hard.
it's very different for everyone. I know one artist who was in the studio after 3 months, and
Okay.
he is a wood turner.
Oh,
So I was in my studio yesterday for a couple of hours. I
okay.
was doing some coloring, and yeah, it
Okay.
worked a little bit slower than usual, but it worked.
So has the last 3 weeks just been like torture for you, not being in the studio, not working, not making things?
Yeah, this is the worst part. It's just so boring. I mean, of course, a lot of books and movies. We are watching Twin Peaks, but still, it's boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I get the impression from you, just from how prolific your work is. Are you always creating, even when you're maybe not scratching on a printmaking plate? Are you always just drawing and thinking?
Yeah, it's mostly what I'm doing all the time.
Okay.
So when I'm at home, I'm in studio for 12, 14 hours, not only working on the etchings or 3D pieces, I also draw a lot because I think for musicians, to play every day for several hours just for practice, it's the same for an artist.
Mm-hmm.
especially if the medium is drawing or printmaking. So
Mm-hmm.
I draw a lot.
And you've been drawing since you've been really little. I mean, wasn't that something you did right out of the gate as a little kid? You were just always drawing?
Yeah, I love to draw. I went to art school. It was very interesting art school in Latvia, where I'm from.
Latvia, okay.
It's from fifth to 12th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and it is art history, painting, drawing, composition, sculpture, everything together with regular subjects like language or math or something like that. So
Is that a
yeah,
typical
that's
schooling in Latvia, or was that specialized because you had
no,
an
it's
interest in the arts?
specialized special school that was adjusted to Academy of Arts.
Mm,
Academy of Arts in Latvia, it's like a university, but for arts only, 6 years.
mm.
And there was such a school with very small classes, very small amount of students. There is exams to get into this school, and it's like pretty tough.
And I'm sorry, what was the age that you entered that? Did you say fifth grade?
Uh, fifth grade, yeah,
Wow, that's
yeah,
young.
fifth grade.
So how did you get
Yes, it
even
is.
prepared in the sense that you had the artistic ability to be accepted? I mean, was it on your own, or did you have a mentor
Uh,
at a young age?
at the beginning, I didn't have any mentor. I didn't have any understanding what they will ask from me. I
Mm-hmm.
just learned that there is such a school and I like to draw. So I decided, oh, maybe I want to go and study in this school instead of just regular school.
Uh-huh.
And I told my mom. So she learned where these exams are. And so I went.
Oh,
Of course, I didn't have any absolute understanding what it is like live drawing from still life
okay.
or painting from still life or composition for the
Mm-hmm.
theme they are giving you. So I didn't get in for the first time.
Oh,
And then my mom, she was very, very supportive, in
okay.
spite that she actually hardly could afford to do some lessons for me, but she
Mm.
found some art student, so I had some lessons.
Were they like students in the academy or older?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
a student from the academy, young woman. She taught me, and next year I got in.
Okay.
I had to go again to the fifth grade because I couldn't go just to the sixth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You still had to
yeah, I
start at
wanted.
fifth
Yeah,
grade.
I need this program, to
Mm.
go through the program of the fifth grade. But I don't regret completely. Yeah, this is wonderful school.
And did that starting at a younger level, like academically, that wasn't like a hindrance for you at that age? You're like, nope, I still want to study the arts. This is such a strong pull.
Yeah, I wanted to study arts. It was very, very interesting and such a new thing for me. And in regular school, I was mostly bored.
Why were you bored?
Just nothing interesting there. Even
Mm.
the art lessons, they were pretty boring. I don't remember right now, but it was probably 1 hour per week in regular school,
Oh,
the art
yeah.
class. And also the teacher was not interesting person. It was like nothing interesting in
Yeah.
this class.
That's really great, though, that you were able to be funneled into something that would challenge you and motivate you and kind of like set you on a course of where you wanted to go.
Yeah.
So then after the academy, did you go on for like higher training then too?
Academy, it is higher training. So first, this is art school. It's
Mm-hmm.
like high school.
Yeah.
And then mostly all students go to Academy of Arts. Of course, it's also exams and pretty difficult to get in, but we all were pretty well trained already.
Mm-hmm.
We all had certificates for teaching after this school, so already like some profession. But yeah, I choose the printmaking department
Mm-hmm.
because I was very intrigued by this
Okay.
technique.
I don't know that much about printmaking, so there are different techniques, right? Were you trained in all different techniques, or is there something you specialize in?
We studied everything.
Mm-hmm.
We started with linocut, woodcut, so relief. Then we did lithography, it's stone lithography. Then we started intaglio on the third year, and this is my major, intaglio.
Mm.
It is like deep printing, another name for it, when ink is not on the surface, but inside the
Like into the
lines.
grooves, like the
Yes.
recesses that you're carving?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's engraving, etching, aquatint, mezzotint, dry point, a lot of different techniques how to work on metal
Mm-hmm.
or acrylic, but printing is the same. It is deep printing.
Mm.
So only low places are inked. This is wiped, and then it's printed with etching press that makes really huge pressure, like
Mm-hmm.
emboss this image on the paper. It's
Mm-hmm.
why the intaglio print has such very specific 3D look.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of what is the word texture on
Mm.
the surface of the paper of the print.
So I'm curious, like your images, they have such detail. They almost look hand drawn. So or
They are hand
illustrated.
drawn, but on the plate.
Right.
Yeah,
So what was the attraction to then actually drawing onto the plate that technique? Why was printmaking the thing that attracted you so much?
just magic of this
Mm.
technique.
Oh.
First, Lena cut, I made it when I was in seventh grade in art school, and it was not something like part of the lessons or something. I just saw someone from like higher class did some Lena cut, so I decided that I want to try it. It's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I was raised in Soviet Union,
Mm.
and it wasn't possible to get any tools, for example, for Lena cut
Mm.
or even to get a lino, it was a big problem. So what I did, I took old umbrella, took the metal parts of the umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
sharpened them, made the cutters from them, you
Oh, you
know.
did. Oh my gosh, you were
Yeah,
inventive.
it's funny now, but
Yeah.
when you don't have anything, you just have to invent things, right?
Yeah.
Invent tools.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then what I did with lino, I just cut out the piece of lino from the floor in
Mm-hmm.
the kitchen. My
Mm.
grandpa almost killed me for that,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what I used to cut my first lino cut. I still remember it was Mermaid.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're like you're using our kitchen floor for this?
Yep, exactly. Because I couldn't find any piece of lino anywhere, or reline or something like that similar. So
Wow.
I didn't do that after that anymore,
Okay.
but it was my first attempt.
So you grew up in Latvia,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
was that during the time that it was part of the Soviet Union?
Yes, it was. I actually was born in Siberia, not in Latvia.
Oh.
My parents worked in Siberia.
Mm.
It was near Baikal Lake, the deepest lake on the earth
Okay.
and the cleanest. It was at the time. I don't know how clean it's right now.
Okay.
We left when I was 8, but I still remember something. And actually, my first language was Russian. I went to first grade in Siberia. Don't remember much, but
Yeah.
it was very, very cold winters, very, very dark winters, very short
Mm.
days. Remember how I was buying milk? Milk was just a round piece of white ice.
It was.
Yeah,
And
I
you had to
just
thaw it
went.
out. You had to thaw it out to drink it, like let it melt.
No, my mom just told me, go to the person who has a cow, here
Mm-hmm.
is money, and bring the milk home.
Oh my
So I
God.
took a sled. I was probably 6 that
Yeah.
time. And so I went to the other part of the village and bought this round milk. It was in the cotton bag, and I brought it home. Then, of course, in the warm kitchen, it became a milk, I mean, liquid,
Mm.
and we
Mm-hmm.
used it. Still remember that. I don't know why.
And what kind of time frame are we talking? Like, what was the era? Like, was it the 19 whats?
I was born in 61, so it's probably was 60, like 7,
Mm-hmm.
68.
So upper 60s, early 70s, you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, not 70, 70. So my family already returned to Latvia,
Latvia.
and I went to the second grade
How long were you in Latvia?
for maybe 30 years. Yeah, actually,
Okay.
it was the biggest part of my life that I spent there.
How would you describe Latvia compared to the US? Like, what are some differences and similarities?
Difficult to describe.
Is it?
Of course, as a part of Soviet Union, there were a lot of not very nice things. I mean, no political freedom, no freedom of speech, and
Mm,
you should be very careful what you are talking about and
mm.
what you are doing. But at the same time, there were a lot of very nice things. For
Okay.
example, education. It was free.
Mm.
All this art school, Academy of Arts, it was free. Also, I was doing fencing for several years. It was my another passion.
What was it again? Can you say that again? What word?
Fencing,
Fencing.
fencing,
Oh, cool.
fencing. Yeah.
Yeah, with a like a
Um,
oh, what's it called? An
mhm.
épée or whatever. What's the sword
um,
called?
I don't know in English, but
Oh,
I was using rapira.
oh,
Rapira.
yeah.
There are three different armors in fencing,
Nice.
and mine was the simplest one, uh,
Uh-huh.
not so violent like two others.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it was also free. All this sports,
Okay.
yeah,
And how long did you do
uh,
fencing?
probably for 5 years.
Okay.
Then I should stop because of the art school. I just couldn't do
Mm.
both together because art school took a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
The lesson started at 9 in the morning and they ended at 4,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even later. Then I had to do some homework and not only math or language, but also to paint, to draw, to do some sketches. So I was busy, busy, busy.
And kind of set the course for your whole life, I think, right? You've always, has
Yes,
that stuck
yeah,
with you, that
absolutely.
industriousness?
Yes, yeah, that's the only thing I actually did. After Academy of Arts, being the printmaker, not illustrator or designer, I didn't have a work because there were no place to work. I mean, as a printmaker. So I went to school. Cannot say that it was my favorite part of my life.
And was this for your college degree or your master's degree? What was that you went to school?
I got master degree in printmaking from Academy of Arts.
Okay.
Then I went to work to school. I mean, to teach
Oh, to teach.
students.
That was the part
Yes,
of your life that you didn't care for as much?
to teach. Yeah.
Mm.
So I had students from fifth grade to 12th grade. Then I also went to College of Art and I was drawing instructor.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, I found work at animation studio and it was one of my favorite parts of my life.
Oh, that's cool. So
So
you were actually doing like illustrations for animated films type thing?
not illustrations. When I found this job, first I did clean drawings, how they call it.
Okay.
Actually, three jobs in traditional animation.
Oh,
Key animator,
okay.
who is doing like the basic movement phases, like key drawings.
Okay.
Then there is in-betweener, who is filling the gaps between key drawings.
Kind of like when we were kids and they would show how to do like a cartoon, they'd like do the sketch pad where you'd have to flip it right image by image in order to make that person, that character move. Is that what you're describing? How you get from point A to point B with the movement
Uh,
of the characters? Am I
movement
understanding you right?
movement is a job of key animator. This
Okay.
is like highest level
It is. Okay.
of yeah. Then there is person who is doing in between drawings. For example, 1 second of the film requires 24 frames,
Wow.
24 drawings, 1 second.
Uh-huh.
So if this movement is very fast, key animator does all 24 drawings.
Ah.
If movement is slower a little bit, then a key animator can do like 3 drawings or 4 drawings,
Mm.
and all in betweens are doing the in between artists.
I see. And what did you say your role was in that when you were hired and in
The first job that I got, it was cleaning all these drawings by
mm.
key animator and in between animator. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know anything about movement when I came. I only could do like nice line,
Yeah.
and so that's what I did. But then I went to it was not school. It was like studying of animation
Mm-hmm.
in the same studio at nights with the instructor. We didn't have animation school in Latvia. No.
Okay.
So we were like mostly self-taught.
Okay.
but of course with instructor. So when I did that, I started to do in-betweens. And after that, like in year or two, I started to do key animation. Of course, it was the most interesting thing to do key animation.
Okay.
So you think how you just got the episode
Yeah.
that is saying what this character is doing, what he's like saying, the lip sync, for example, how these lips are moving. And you draw the beginning and maybe middle phase and the end, and you are thinking how this movement must go. For example, if the hand is moving like that, at the end it must be like slower than at the beginning to make like very nice move.
Right.
Or you think how this character is walking,
Yeah.
and sometimes it was really funny. We were like 10 people in the room with lighting tables, and everyone was trying their own character, how it is walking. For example, it is like a cat, and this person was trying to imitate the walk of the cat on the floor, and
Yeah.
nearby another one is trying to imitate something else to understand the movement. So pretty
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah, there's got to be a lot of observation to figure out
right?
like how,
Hmm.
to draw the different stages of where they're going and how they end up. And expressions, I'm sure, are huge, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, to express what they're feeling inside through facial expressions and gesturing, it's got to be a whole
Hmm.
aspect of
Right.
observation in itself.
Of course, there are some specific like schemes and ways how to do specific movements. We used Disney to study the movement, Disney movies.
Yeah.
Too bad they don't do traditional animation anymore.
Okay.
I believe the last movie was in 2011,
Okay.
and now it's only computer.
Just all
So,
computer generated. Okay.
yep, no hint.
You said that was your favorite time or your favorite job.
Yeah, favorite job. Yeah,
What led you away from that? What was next?
I met my husband.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
You had a new
who
love.
who actually is from Latvian ancestry, and he was born in the United States. His parents they immigrated during the Second World War from
Oh,
Latvia,
okay.
and he came to see motherland, and that's how we met.
Oh,
And so then I moved to United States.
that brought you to the U.S. then, was your relationship.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yep.
how old were you about then?
No, I was like 39, 40.
39, 40.
It was
Okay.
24 years ago
Okay.
in
And
2000.
so when you came to the U.S., did you pursue animation when you came to the U.S., or were you just kind of charting a whole new course?
I tried to find a job, but it wasn't possible in
Mm,
our area. And of course, my husband has his own job. He couldn't move anywhere else.
mm,
There were some opening, I mean, in California, somewhere else, like hand-drawn animation still in
mm.
2000, 2002, but couldn't do that. Also, my language was like zero.
So you knew
I mean,
no
English.
English? Okay.
Yeah, very, very small. We
Mm-hmm.
studied English in school, but it's just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like my daughter studied Spanish in school here, and she cannot speak Spanish.
Before you met your husband, did you ever think that living in the U.S. was even on your radar, that would even happen? No.
Absolutely not. No,
No.
no, no.
So this was a
It
whole new
was
world. So you had the language barrier. How did you overcome it?
all this. He speaks Latvian,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually what helped. Otherwise, I even wouldn't like know him because it would be like no communication.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he helped me at the beginning. It was difficult, in spite that I could read in English. It was very difficult to talk and very difficult to understand. It
Mm.
was just like one long word for me, all this sentence. I even couldn't like separate words
Oh,
at the beginning. Very difficult.
okay.
This place where we live, it's very small, no immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
For people, they just couldn't understand that you don't know language. They don't slow down, they don't explain anything, they don't
Mm-hmm.
repeat if you don't understand. So It was pretty frustrating at the beginning.
Pretty what,
Pretty
isolating?
frustrating.
Frustrating and
I
mm-hmm.
was pretty isolated and didn't do anything for a couple of years. Then I found out about art fairs. It was
Really?
just suddenly in Lansing, I believe it was, when I first saw the art fair. And I was thinking, wow, it's so interesting. We didn't have any art fairs in Latvia.
And then before that time, so when you were in the US for a couple of years, were you still drawing to express yourself and doing printmaking and artwork?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yeah. I even shipped my etching press from Latvia to United States.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, using the ship overseas. It
Mm-hmm.
was pretty cheap, actually.
Oh,
It was about $300 only.
oh, okay.
It's really, really heavy and big.
Right. Considering it's such an integral part of your creative process, that press.
Yes, yeah, it's my main tool. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you just worked. Is that how you kind of worked through some of that language stuff? Was expressing creatively, visually, what you were feeling or thinking or
It was not about the language or isolation. It was mostly about nature. In Latvia, I was more like city girl,
mm,
not very big connection to nature. But here in United States, I was just overwhelmed.
really?
Wildlife, birds, everything. I mean,
Mm,
the area where we live, it's very rural and it's full of
mm.
wildlife.
So lots of walks.
Yeah, lots of walks.
Yeah.
We
Mm-hmm.
have a family farm pretty close to our house and it's big. No one is like farming there. No one is living there
Mm,
anymore. But it is 40 acres, I believe, of woods and fields.
mm,
And it's absolutely great place to walk. And we walk our dogs very often there. And this is where I go to do mushroom hunting.
mm.
Mushrooms are very big. I mean,
Yeah.
to
I
me,
mean, I was gonna say it. They'd have to be. I mean, you have a book of mushroom drawings, don't you?
yes,
A published book, and lots of your images that you have, like on Instagram, center around mushrooms.
yes, yeah. I just love them.
Tell us about your love of that.
I do mushroom hunting since I was like 8,
Mm,
together with my grandfather. He was very big mushroom hunter.
mm-hmm,
And in Latvia, we did it just for food.
mm-hmm,
Every autumn, we went and collected them, then we marinated them and did the pickled mushrooms
mm-hmm.
for winter. But I just loved the walks and I loved the look and the feeling to find something interesting. Yeah,
Mm.
so I still love it and I'm doing it.
Does it bring you back to the time you had with your grandfather? I mean, is it kind of like, since it's lasted this whole span, I mean, does it have kind of that special meaning for you rooted in history?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it does, definitely. American mushrooms are different, of
Really?
course. Yeah, some maybe are the same, but mostly it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Different species, much, much more different species and families than I knew in Latvia. Maybe I just didn't knew enough when
Mm-hmm.
I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it is a huge world and it is not enough like for the whole life to learn everything about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love to draw them. They just so interesting.
And nature in general. I mean, it seems like you can find the most intricate flower and just bring out all the detail. It's like so interesting. I mean, is it something you kind of just get totally lost in?
Yeah, the to draw the things that I find on my
Mm-hmm.
walks. This is my favorite thing, and it's what I am trying to do every day. It was time. I mean, it was just a little bit before pandemics and during pandemics when I
Mm-hmm.
walked every morning very early. I usually brought the little wildflower with me. Then
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting and drawing it. So I collected huge amount of these wildflower images and then made a book of wildflowers from
Mm.
these sketches. It was large etching. So that's how this piece was created. The same with mushrooms. So I have series of open books, wildflowers, mushrooms, birds. Yeah, for them, I first do live drawing from the species that I collect.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to make like portraits of them, not just like any mushroom or not just any bell or trillium flower,
Mm-hmm.
but exactly specifically this one.
Does it feel like your animation has come into your art practice too? Do you infuse a little bit of personality, emotion, character into those nature pieces that you're doing?
I would say motion, movement, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Since I did the animation, I think that I feel movement pretty well right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm trying to put in my etchings and large pieces, it is some movement, rhyme movement that is coming from animation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. This episode of the Independent Artist Podcast is brought to you by Zap, the digital application service where artists and art festivals connect.
Douglas, I'm thrilled this week that we are being sponsored and supported by Zapplication.org.
It's really great that they appreciate what we're doing here on the podcast.
And I appreciate what they are doing, basically because I feel like I'm an intensely lazy man. And they make the entire art show process, signing up for shows, a lot easier.
And they have that tagging feature for us. That way we can put little notes about a show to help us maybe with building that perfect tour.
Or you can write whatever you want on it. You can write, hey, this show sucked last year, but it had promise.
Wow.
It's going to be exactly what you need it to be. And I appreciate that extra bonus feature.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's talk about the confusion that a lot of people have about printmaking. Like if somebody, let's say, is a painter and they make a reproduction and they'll use the term print, is there a challenge for you as an exhibitor to communicate your process?
Yes, of course. Yeah, many people, they don't understand the difference, but it's fine. They don't have to. I mean, it's my task to explain. The most painful moment is when they say, "Oh, it is not original. It's just a like
Oh,
print
just a print, if they say that.
reproduction. Yeah, that machine is
Mm-hmm.
doing." And then I explain that no, actually, it is not this way. That I make a plate by hands, and it takes a lot of time. Some of my plates they took about 6 months to make
Wow.
because they are so detailed. And then I have to ink plate for every print, wipe it, and it's all different every time. And
Mm-hmm.
inking and wiping, I can use different colors. I can wipe in different ways to leave more or less ink on the surface, and the result will be completely different. I
Mm-hmm.
can use such techniques like Shinkolé or Chinese applique when I use pieces of very thin paper to print together with the plate to make colors. So there are a lot of different things how to change the result of the print. And everything is done by hand. And actually, the bigger part of my etching, they are hand colored after I printed them. So
Mm-hmm.
that also add some
Like
originality
watercolors
to
and
the
stuff, you're
piece.
saying?
Watercolors. Yeah,
Okay.
watercolors.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
So,
yeah, when you carve onto the plate, that would be the source to make multiple originals from, right? If I
hmm
understand it correctly.
yes,
But yet
yeah,
you could hold up those two pieces that came from that plate. They're going to have subtle differences. So each one is a handmade original. Am I
yes, yeah,
describing it properly?
exactly. Yes, there is such a like thing as to make the whole edition the same.
Mm-hmm.
And some printing houses they still trying to do that. I don't like that. I like when each print is completely different. Maybe sometimes they are similar. If it is something small, not very complicated in texture, and when I use only one color, like black, for example, to print the whole edition. But mostly when it is more complicated technique, all prints are pretty different.
Mm-hmm.
I call that varied edition. So it's still edition, printed from one plate.
Mm-hmm.
Prints are different. Sometimes they are so different that you cannot tell that it's from the same plate.
Oh, interesting.
So
Yeah.
when you change paper, ink, yep,
When you
yep.
do an edition like that, how do you determine how many pieces you're going to set in that edition?
It depends on technique that I use. because some of them are very sensitive, like mezzotint, for example, or dry point. It is not done with acid. These lines are made with tools and they are pretty fragile. For example, mezzotint, it's very old technique when artists use a rocker. It is metal piece with small, tiny teeth on the edge, and artists rock the plate in different directions, and teeth they make tiny holes and also tiny burr around each hole. And when you ink this rock plate, it will be completely black like a velvet. But this is just a background for the image. Then you take another tools that smooth and cut away burr, and you are going from black to white in this technique.
Yeah.
So it is very, very velvety, no lines, only tones. But with every going through the press, all these burrs, they became flatter and flatter, and holes are also flatter, so they hold less and less ink. And so with every print, it's more and more gray image. So such techniques as mezzotint and dry point, it's pretty difficult to pull big edition. So it's limited. When I use these techniques, it's usually like 25 only,
Okay.
edition of 25, sometimes even less.
And that's just the nature of how long you can pull prints from the plate that you've
Yes.
created. Yeah. If the nature of that plate has more longevity to it, then will you use it until
then I
you
can
can,
do
as long as
bigger
you can?
edition. Yeah.
I see.
Also, it depends how big is the plate, how affordable I want to make it. For example, if it's little one, I can make like edition of 100, sometimes even 200 if it's really popular.
Yeah.
Just to keep the cost lower. If it is large and complicated plate, it's difficult to ink, wipe, and print it. Then edition is smaller. And of course, if smaller the edition, the price is higher. That's
Right. That makes sense. Right.
yeah.
Okay, so going back to when you were in Michigan and you first came in contact with art fairs for the first time, that was kind of like after you'd been in the US for a couple of years. Was that what sparked the idea for you to start selling your work
Yes.
yourself
Yeah.
under a tent?
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
I mean, how was this show in Lansing that I first saw? Or
Yeah, what was it like for you stepping into that world? I mean, did you have success right off the bat, or was there quite the learning
no,
curve? No?
no. I talked a little bit at this Lansing fair to printmaker from Sweden, older woman who did this show. I don't know how many times, but she had some tiny linocuts and also etchings. So she said how it's done. I mean, you have to apply, you pay for space, you have to get the tent and another things, and then you can sell.
Okay, so she kind of laid it out for you how to get to that point.
Yes, yeah, I of course didn't do the Lansing show. It was too big for me that time.
Okay.
But I remember that I was looking online and found some promoter, a private promoter. I believe her name was Audrey Levy.
Okay.
She did shows in Michigan, so that's how I started. I did some shows with Audrey Levy.
What time frame are we talking?
It was probably 2004, maybe, maybe 2003.
Yeah.
It was one show was in Ann Arbor. It was indoor in winter. Then it was somewhere like up north in Michigan. I didn't make any money actually. Probably I made the booth fee, even don't remember now. But I got some experience and I listened to people what they want. They actually didn't want my etchings because they were very dark that time.
Like dark themed or dark colored?
Dark theme and dark colors, complicated techniques when I like to do like everything on one plate and mezzotint and dry point etching. So I was like very, very much into technical thing and into the like surface, how it looks like, not into the theme. Themes also were pretty dark, like surreal mostly. I had a big series of pieces about time, large plates, and the full name was Time is Feathered Thing, and it was like different understanding
Hmm.
what time it is.
But they didn't work in like the art fair world, you're saying?
No, sometimes people bought them, but it was not like I wanted it to be.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
uh,
You're like, I want the work to sell. I want this to be a business. I can make money
exactly.
off of
Yeah. Then
off
I
of what I'm
decided like
creating.
to put some of my sketches that I was doing all the time. I mean, it's birds and flowers and plants, all this life short drawings, decided to make some plates from them. And that's what resonated with buyers. Yeah, they started to buy these etchings and I started to like work from there.
How did it feel then to kind of shift what you were creating and then having that hit? Some people would, when we do art fairs, would feel like that was selling out to their original idea, or did you feel happy that you made something that was taking off?
It's a difficult question. Of course, I wanted people to appreciate my works that I was thinking so very long time
Mm-hmm.
on, working so very long time on. But at the same time, I understand that not one want to put some dark and gloomy piece in
Mm-hmm.
their living room and to
Yeah.
watch it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just listen to them. If you want to sell your work, you probably have to listen to buyers, right?
Yeah. We talk a lot about the pie chart or the Venn diagram, how the overlapping circles of, what you love to make overlapping with what will sell. And if you can find the sweet spot, then it makes for a good
Exactly.
career as an
Yeah.
art fair artist, because
Mm-hmm.
we do invest so much time and energy to getting to that spot on the street, to get juried in, to put our work out in the public, that we want it to sell so that we can, for one, recoup what we've put into the business, but then also make a living off of it because that's the other thing that we need.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. But yeah, this tiny, small nature etchings, it was just the beginning. Then I started to like do more complicated things, but
Mm,
in different way. That time I found out about the artist that I absolutely love, Maria Sibylla Merian. It is a 17th century German artist and
mm,
scientist
okay.
who did illustrations, engravings actually, and
Mm,
etchings. She
mm,
did it by herself that time
mm.
of insects and plants. She traveled to Suriname, South America, with her
Oh,
daughter. At that time, can you imagine?
okay.
Two women alone on
Yeah.
the ship traveling to another part of the world.
And this is when?
It was 17th century.
Okay. Yeah.
That
Very
was the question.
way back.
Yeah, so she studied these tropical insects and plants. She actually was the person who found out how butterflies are coming from caterpillars.
Really?
So she was the first one who described metamorphosis.
Mm,
And I was looking at her artwork. It is not just scientific illustrations. It's absolutely beautiful engravings
mm,
and etchings, and they are hand colored.
mm-hmm,
That's what gave me such a push to try hand coloring
mm-hmm.
of etchings and engravings because it was so like mine. I mean, the subjects that she did and
Yeah.
how she did it. So I decided that I want to do that too, to try at least.
So that was a pivotal experience being exposed
Yeah,
to her work and how she worked.
yeah,
Wow, that's cool.
yes. So now I am working on like series that are stepped in time. It is urbanized nature, I call it.
Okay.
This is about coexistence of nature and urban.
So did you say urban and nature? Like the two, like
Yes,
the city versus rural kind of existence?
yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
like a nature paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is like humans and nature can coexist.
Mm-hmm.
So I am doing plants and architecture together,
Mm.
blended together. It is like some kind of utopia, not real places,
Yeah.
some fantasy, But the idea is about coexistence. When I started to think about this theme, it was because someone, actually my stepson, my
Okay.
husband's son, he traveled to Japan. It was connected to university and some studies. And he was writing long emails describing the cities, how it is all concrete, like no trees, no plants, nothing,
Mm-hmm.
describing all this technology, trains, and everything. It was very interesting to read very different experience, especially from rural in the United States. And then another thing that pushed me very much, he was having a dinner with someone in her 60s,
Okay.
and they were talking what they like to do in life in spare time. And
Yeah.
he is very outdoor person, like
Mm-hmm.
mountain biking, walking
Right.
in the woods. And she asked him, "Can you please describe me how does it feel when you are in the woods?" Because
Mm.
she never was, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah.
She's 60. She never was in the woods.
Wow.
I was just in shock,
Mm-hmm.
complete shock.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started to think about that. So in my head, immediately it was such a picture that Earth is completely urbanized. It's all covered with cities. We don't have
Yeah.
any nature anymore. So
Yeah.
I started to do some research. And to my surprise, I found out that only 3% of the Earth is covered with urban areas. Can you imagine?
3%.
3%.
Wow.
So it's just nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there is a lot of water that is probably like 70 something,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
75%.
Mm-hmm.
And then another part, like 29 or something, it is just land.
Okay.
And only 3% of this 95 is urban.
Wow.
So, but it still feels like everything is urban right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And first thing that I started, I mean, some ideas I started to draw, they were pretty angry, like fight between two,
Mm.
like cities exploding, houses like broken
Okay.
by bombs.
Right.
So then I
That's a
decided,
far
no,
cry different than what you're doing now.
yeah, I decided, no, 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 I don't want to go this direction. And I started to do something like coexistence.
I love it.
Then I found out about Singapore, how they did this botanical garden, the big garden of like flowers, but houses at the same time, like architecture elements.
Mm-hmm.
About the airport, like the walls are live walls, plants, you know.
Mm. Yeah, right.
So they're trying like to put them together, all the
Mm.
things, and that's exactly what I like so much.
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, it's also a larger statement to kind of where we find ourselves socially, too, between how an urban minded person is versus a more rural person. Coexistence is an important aspect of moving forward socially. And even though that might not be your intent, it still is a beautiful translation as to what you're communicating visually in your work. I think that's really exciting.
Mm, thank you.
Yeah, cool. So art fairs. So you've been doing the art fair scene now for about 20 years, then you'd say, or a little over 20
Yeah,
years. And
something
how has
like
that
that.
evolution gone for you? Like thinking back to where you started and to where you are now, how has that changed?
Changed a lot, of course.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, I barely understood how it's working, and we didn't do a lot of shows. And at the beginning, I did some of them alone. It was difficult. And
Okay.
then my husband retired and started to help me, and we started to do more shows and got better understanding of the system, how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So we did pretty big amount of shows. It was not very easy way to find what show works for you,
Right.
which one doesn't work for you. But I believe that we found it. We did our list, and that's what we are doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, downsizing pretty much because it's difficult to make enough art for a big amount of shows for me
Mm-hmm.
now
Yeah, what is that
lately.
sweet spot for you? what is the good number for you if you have a
Uh,
successful selling season or amount of shows? What's kind of that number you like to stay at for the amount of shows?
in 24 we did, I believe, 8
Mm-hmm.
shows.
Okay.
Next year I even want to do less,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some 6,
Okay.
because I want to be prepared very well for
Mm.
each show. And sometimes when they are like back to back, it's very, very difficult.
To have the
So
inventory to be ready for your
yeah,
next event? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, if show is very successful, then I need to cancel the next one, and it
Mm-hmm.
is not nice. But what
Mm-hmm.
to do? I just cannot press a button and print a lot of
Yeah. So one
information.
question I have for you is some of the shows where the show has the rule that you can only have one booth for a body of work at the show. We'll sometimes see you juried in under two booths. Like, is it two
Yeah.
different bodies of work or is it two different categories? How does that work
Uh,
for when you're
Two
applying?
different bodies of work, sometimes two different categories, but actually, this second body of work doesn't fit into another category actually, because, for example, mixed medium, you have to use several different materials
Mm,
to be qualified for mixed medium, right?
yeah.
And I only use my etchings.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there are some things like glue, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't consider it like a material
Yeah.
or
And
something.
even if you do
This
watercolor painting on top of your etchings, that's still not mixed media?
Not really. This is like hand colored etching,
Mm-hmm.
so it's still printmaking.
Yeah.
The second body of work, I started it because I wanted to make something new with old technique.
Mm.
Intaglio printmaking is so old,
Yeah.
so old-fashioned, didn't change almost. I mean, yeah, there are some ways how to do it differently, but still. So, and also I wanted very much to make something 3D,
Mm.
to have some layers to the work, and I started to cut out my etchings and to put them together into 3D compositions.
Mm.
And yeah, sometimes the show especially put me into mixed medium. Not that I do that.
Mm.
Sometimes it is printmaking and printmaking, just two different bodies of work.
Different bodies. Yeah. Okay.
hmm
Got you.
They mostly are in like gown or dress shapes, and it comes from childhood also.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lot of paper dolls
You
and
did.
paper dresses when I
Mm-hmm.
was a little girl. My mom first did them for me, then I started to do my ovens too. So I had boxes and boxes and boxes of them. So
Wow.
I believe it's just coming from that time.
That's
Yeah,
really interesting. So, would you describe your childhood as a real creative time for you?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, they were not connected in any way to arts. My
Mm.
dad, he was an engineer, and my mom, a nurse, but they both loved to draw.
Okay.
So they did some drawings just for their liking when they had spare
Mm-hmm.
time. Also, they liked to make surprises for me. I
Mm.
had a drawing pad. Sometimes when I was sleeping at night, my dad take it and make a drawing in it.
Oh,
And at the morning, I open it and there is, wow, what a surprise. Oh my God, what animal is this? Or what flower is this? So my mom
wow.
sometimes did that too. So
Yeah.
that's probably how it all started. Yeah.
Wow. And
Also,
so the
we had,
magic behind that, I mean, did you know immediately that your dad or your mom had communicated with you in that way, or did you kind of feel like it was magic, like it just appeared?
yeah, at the beginning, it was magic. Then, of
It was like
course,
the
I
tooth
learned that
fairy.
they did that, right? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Also, in our family, there were like a lot of books, and many of them were with very nice illustrations.
Mm.
And some of them were with engraving.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember Gustave Doré fairy tales, French, Charles
Mm.
Perrault fairy tales,
Yeah.
Puss in the Boots, the Little
Mm-hmm.
Red Riding Hood.
Little Red
Is it
Riding Hood, yeah.
English name, I believe? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in my language is just Red Hat.
Okay.
That's all. So in some other fairy tales, I still remember these illustrations, and they
Wow.
just made so huge impact on me.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly etchings, engravings, and black and white pen drawing. That's what I loved.
Did you have siblings?
My sister, who actually was an artist too, now she does another things, but she was trained as ceramic artist.
Oh, cool.
Porcelain.
But how fun that your parents nurtured that creativity in you. And, they saw that in you and they wanted to like surprise you with these drawings and encourage you to go on to the art. It's one thing. Our kids will say to us, I want to do this when I grow up, or I'd like to do that. And, you just know it's not practical and it's not something to pursue.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who are creative have parents who maybe push that aside, but they embraced that in you and they helped funnel you to the avenues that you needed to be to get that education. That's a real gift.
I'm very grateful to my parents. They never told me, don't do art because you will not have money, you will be a poor person, or go to something serious, go to med school.
Yeah. Wow. And to look at like your level of skill, to be able to have such detail and such emotion, it would be a gift that would have been wasted, in my opinion. Some of us are artists and creatives and whatnot. I feel like we could do lots of other things. In your case, I feel like it would have been a complete waste of a talent and skill to not have that be realized and nurtured into what it is. I just feel like what you do is so amazing.
Oh,
and
thank you so much. You just want to say that I cannot do anything else, right?
Yes, that too. That's all we can do.
I can cook,
Okay, good. Is that one of your interests as well?
Yeah, I like to cook, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Cool. You like to cook those mushrooms you harvest.
Yeah, mushrooms too, yeah. They're delicious.
Well, recovering from surgery, looking towards 2025, cutting back shows, whatever. What is your feeling for 2025? Are you looking at 2025 with optimism, hesitation? What does the next year bring up for you?
I try to look into it with optimism and with hope, of course. But who knows what will happen? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
What I can say for now, the December, usually it's very, very busy time for us. And a lot of sales through website and just through email. For before Christmas, this year is much, much slower.
Is that
not just slower, but like 20 times slower than usual. That's a little bit scary, but I hope that maybe it will be better, much better.
And does your shoulder play into any of that? Is it that the orders just aren't coming in through whatever sources you've put out there, like Instagram, to funnel to that? Or does recovering from that kind of take your focus off of nurturing the business side so it's not?
I actually don't do business sides almost at all. All this does.
Okay.
I only do social media. That's all.
Okay.
I can make little video or take photos for social media. That's what I do. But all this is sales department, shipping department, and also he makes a website. It's a little bit slower on website. It looks like sold out because he has a lot of job right now because I cannot do anything in the house.
Right.
He has to cook, he has to clean, take care of dogs, and plus the business. So website is not updated as it must be. But not only because of that. Instagram was very big source for me for selling things.
Yeah.
This year it is much slower. This autumn, I can say, in the beginning of the winter. So, but we will see how it will go.
Right. Well, I'm super impressed with their Instagram page. I go to look at your followers, and I don't think I know of any other artist on the street who has 84,000. Am I reading that right? 84,000 followers? You have almost 87,000 followers. And your engagement is off the chart. That's incredible.
Yeah, but mostly all these followers, it is some kids who like to draw, very young artists, or some people who are retired and they want to make some art, for example. They're just for ideas or technique, or to ask some questions, or just follow to see things.
Mm-hmm. For the
Of
entertainment
course,
aspect of seeing
yeah,
something in
it
their
is
news
not
feed.
like
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of buyers. No,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not.
Okay.
And I have a lot of questions all the time. They just writing into the private to ask different questions about techniques and everything. And it
That
takes a
can be
lot of
hard to keep
time.
up with right there. I mean,
Yes, I'm trying to answer. Some of them even are offended, because now I just starting to say, just please go and Google intaglio printmaking for understanding, because
right.
questions are very, very like they don't have any clue what is that. First, do a little bit of homework, and then if you still have questions, ask me something
Mm-hmm.
specific. But people, they just sometimes don't want to do even don't read the caption to
Sure.
understand
Yeah,
what I'm
right.
saying about.
And it can
And
take away from your ability to be in the studio making your pieces and
exactly,
getting
yeah.
anything done just to because
Hmm.
other people just were scrolling and they see something and just pop off a question and they just want that information to them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They ask for tutorials, and I'm saying, I cannot give you any tutorials. It's a
Mm-hmm.
really unsafe technique, especially if you use nitric acid. You have to
Yeah.
know some chemistry
Mm-hmm.
and some other things to do that. And also, you have to learn how to draw before you're doing that, because without drawing skills, you will not make nice etching.
Yeah,
It's
right.
also many people don't understand that.
Yeah.
They just think it's some tricks or tips, and then they will be able to do the same.
They want everything to be fast, right? They want it spoon-fed
Right?
and fast.
Yep. Yep. So of course I'm trying to be polite, but sometimes
Yeah.
it's pretty difficult. So this is like downside of the Instagram. My
Yeah.
Facebook is not that active, so it's much easier to manage, but
Mm.
Instagram is a little bit out of hand.
Well, one thing I learned from business from you last year when we were at a show together and I walked by your booth and saw your free shipping signs, and I was
Mhm.
telling you my own personal issues with just offering up free shipping on anything maybe that wasn't of a high value. Like I would say if I had something that was expensive, the free shipping does the trick. And I was telling you how well I lose money if I'm shipping something that someone spends maybe $150 in my booth or whatever. And you reframed it for me. You said, yes, but think about the fact that now you have their contact information, and that contact information is gold in building a business. And since
That's
then,
true.
that has not been something that has been holding me back because collecting those names are the repeat people, and that's the way to do it. So I thank you for that. And I mean, that was a really smart thing I wanted to share on the podcast too, that you had shared, because it is important to think of the long game and not just like what's coming out of my pocket for this singular transaction.
Yeah, actually, this is not my idea. It's all this. It's all
Okay.
his
Yeah.
business ideas. And it's him who wants to do free shipping.
Mm,
He did a lot of research. He knows everything about shipping.
mm,
He has like his own ways how to pack fast. And he is willing to do it in spite that very large pieces that are framed with museum glass. They require very, very like a lot of work to build
yeah.
the crate. And
Mm-hmm.
he does like double or triple crate to do very safe package.
Mm-hmm.
And in all these years, only once the glass was broken.
Mm.
But I believe it was just the fault of the shipping.
Yeah.
I mean, all
We've
these
we've
people.
gotten
No.
boxes or pictures of boxes back. We very rarely have breakage, but this one time the box had like a boot print on it and it was
Oh,
crushed. Well, of course the glass inside, no matter how well it's
hmm,
packaged, if the
yeah,
box is
absolutely.
crushed, the glass is crushed. Yeah, sometimes the shipper just does not do it right. They don't handle it right.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so you had that happen with just one piece this year.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like he brings something very valuable to the table as well to your business.
Absolutely. I couldn't do that without him. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, describe more what other roles that he does for you and your art business. It's more the business side of things.
Yes. What I do, I only apply to shows and do social media. Now, of course, I do the work, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, art, but all other things, it's his. So he makes website,
Mm-hmm.
he does sales, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
send invoice, for example, if the piece is not on the website. And he does all shipping, all packing. He order all this shipping and packing materials. He knows where to and how to
Yeah.
cut all these things, build all this crate. So he does the taxes
Mm-hmm.
that I absolutely don't
That
have any
alone is an
idea.
invaluable tool.
Yeah.
The accounting aspect of
So,
everything.
and of course, he's a Moscow. He
Yeah.
does the setups. I mean, of course, I try to help him, but mostly it's him who is
Mm-hmm.
building the tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
with your shoulder now getting back to doing shows again, are you going to be limited,
yes,
or is your first show going to be past that point where you kind of get the all clear?
yeah, I will be limited for some time and
Okay.
maybe even forever. I mean, to raise the booth, it's very heavy, or to put it down, it will be difficult. And we were talking about that, but he used some system when he is able to do it on his own. He even tried to do that with double booth,
Mm,
just
mm,
alone.
mm.
And actually, he did it. I don't know how it will be in the future, but it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I told him that maybe we should do just a single booth only. Don't think even about double, but he disagreed.
Mm-hmm.
So we will
Yeah.
see how it will go.
Okay. Like all of us, we're all trying to figure out what the future holds, and
Sure.
aging
Yeah.
in this business is not easy. There's such a
We
physical
can help.
component.
We can ask for help all the time because, yeah, artists are absolutely amazing people. They are willing to help all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember the Cherry Creek when this trauma happened. We were exactly at the end of tearing down, and we had double booth.
Mm.
And so then I was not able to help him after I fell. And artists just came and helped. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm just regret that I don't remember. I was in such pain that I don't remember anyone. I
Oh.
only remember Michael.
Mm.
Michael, the ceramic genius.
Oh,
I
right.
cannot say the
Schwegman.
last name.
Michael
Yeah,
Schwegman?
exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
He was helping till the end. He was just
Oh.
absolutely, I just thank you to him so, so very much. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have this community of artists. And in this in one respect, it's like we are singular in that we are trying to make a living. There's only limited spots and shows and all that kind of stuff. So there is that element where we feel a bit of competition, but there is also that camaraderie of like, we will lend a hand whenever
Yep.
somebody needs it, because it could be us tomorrow, And so we are kind of all in this boat in a similar way in how vulnerable we are out on the road.
That's
And it
true.
just took that 1 second for you to have that accident, for you to be in that position where you felt vulnerable.
Yeah, these stabilizing bars are pretty unsafe, I would say.
Oh, God. They're supposed to keep our tents from going up, and away, but not if you trip
Right.
and fall
Yeah.
over them.
But I know several people who did exactly what I did. They
Really?
tripped over, and one artist, she even had completely the same trauma and the same surgery because of tripping over the stabilizing bar.
Okay.
I told all this. This will be the first thing that will go when we are doing.
You're saying
Yeah.
you're not going to use stabilizer bars anymore?
No, we will use them, but when we are doing
Breakdown,
tear
tear down?
down, they just go first. Let's just go
Right.
out first.
They'll come off before the pro panels get removed. And
After pro panels, but yeah, usually I remember that we have also bars in the middle of the wall,
mm,
and usually all this does them first. But I
mm,
said that no, now you will do like different way.
yes. Well, Marina, this has been a really great talk, and I loved hearing about your process and how you've been doing this over the years. And I wish you well, a happy new year, and I hope that shoulder just heals up really well for you. So you take
thank
care.
You so much. Thank you. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. I looked and our schedules match up, so I'll be sure to come and give you a hug on your first show out on the road. So I'll come say hey.
Park?
Yes, I'll be there too.
Okay. See you in the park.
All right. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Happy holidays. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You bet. I hope you all enjoyed that conversation. I really enjoyed getting to know Marina a lot better. I guess the takeaway from that is everybody keep an eye on those stabilizer bars. I know I've had a number of close calls myself with them, so I'm going to heed Marina's advice and remove them early in the process of teardown here moving forward. So Happy New Year to everyone out there listening, and thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
This podcast is brought to you by the National Association of Independent Artists. The website is naiaartists.org.
Also sponsored by Zapplication. That's zapplication.org. And while you're at it, find us on social media and engage in these conversations.
Be sure to subscribe to this podcast to be notified when we release new episodes.
Oh, and if you like the show, we'd love it if you would give us your 5-star rating and offer up your most creative review on your podcast streaming service. See you next time.